practicing my on-the-air mentality.
We got the on-air mentality going on right now. It is a late Wednesday night, but this is the Seahawks podcast, and I'm Sam, and with me, as always, is Ross and Zeb. Gentlemen,
hello.
Happy evening.
Good day.
Yeah, happy Wednesday night. What night is it? Wednesday.
It is actually Wednesday, Ross.
Sweet.
Yeah. But it's...
I usually do this on a Thursday, but I'm over here in the Pacific Northwest enjoying a true autumn, unlike Tokyo. And so I get to do this on a Wednesday for once.
Yeah, you got some super nice weather for the game on Sunday.
I brought that with me, as they say.
Yeah? Did you? Your back is to the sun because you're on the western side of the stadium. Did you get a little chilly?
No, actually, I did not because, I cheer so hard that I am just exhausted by the end of the game.
Well, I mean, that game, man, Seahawks won a thriller at home against that young, explosive Houston Texans team.
If you're one of those lame people that only cheers when the Seahawks score, you were still tired by that game.
I think you'd have to be, right?
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of people stand up the whole game and they scream the whole game, and that's awesome. But there are those people, that only do it for when it really gets to become a special occasion. That game was so full of special occasions, big plays and touchdowns, and that was a mad game.
Well, it's interesting, and we were going to talk a little bit about that game, obviously, because it was so up and down, and there was a lot of things happening. I mean, this is only the second time that the Seahawks have won a game when the defense has given up 30-plus points. I think they're 2-10 all time, which is a pretty horrendous
all time
effort.
Or since Carroll took
And Pete Carroll, sorry, I'm talking about Pete Carroll.
Okay.
We're talking that. My apologies, but the thing is,
there's BPC before Pete Carroll and
BPC, and it was crazy. I mean, I don't think any of us expected 79 points being scored in a game.
No, not even close.
Nope.
I mean, the only way they didn't score was a special teams play, and surprisingly, special teams is almost a non-issue just based on the way that both teams were scoring, just so consistently and so at ease. I mean, it was 14-14 in the first quarter. I can't remember the last time the Seahawks scored in the first quarter. Really,
I had a little. It's funny because even during the late game, falling behind, I never quite got nervous because when you have Russell Wilson as your quarterback, you don't really get nervous. The only thing that made me nervous the whole game was at the end of the first quarter when I kind of was sitting there and you have a few seconds to take a breath and look around and stare at your fingers or whatever you do. I kind of looked at the scoreboard. It was 14-14. That's usually the score at the end of the third quarter in a Seahawks game. Now we're gonna steal the game with a late touchdown. That was the end of the first quarter. We gave up 14 points in a quarter.
Yeah.
And I was a little. And I actually, it was funny because I even gave a second of thought to the podcast. I was like, my prediction for the score is going to be way off.
Zeb, you watched this game on TV. I watched this game on TV as well. What were your thoughts watching this high-scoring affair?
I don't know. It's hard. It was hard to get emotional. It's the weirdest combination of being nervous because we kept letting them score, but then also having that confidence because Russell's going to go down and score again.
And again.
So
again.
Well,
I don't know. I almost feel like I need to just watch it again. Because I still don't feel like I got. I don't think I celebrated the way I should have.
But the thing that's really interesting is it was always a one-score game. No team was really out far enough ahead where it's all right, time to sit back and rest your laurels. It's it's a one-score game, and that. And we'll talk about it more, but that interception that Russell Wilson threw, I thought wow. I just don't think we're going to win this game. Credit the Texans. They played an ace game. They let us score a lot of points, but they made the final defensive stop. And I thought that was going to be that.
It almost felt like it just wasn't in the stars at that point.
And then, really, can I say something? And you're gonna call me a liar? like they're driving down on the drive that Russell Wilson scores through the interception, and like the play before it, I'm sitting there with my friend Jesse and his wife Mickey. Hello, Mickey and Jesse. And I'm like, oh my god, we're gonna score too soon. Like we're gonna score too soon. They're gonna get the ball, and it's all gonna be over because we're gonna score too soon. Like nobody's stopping anybody this game. It's like watching college football, right? Like we're gonna score too soon, and then like Russell Wilson threw the interception. I'm like, okay, that's better. I mean, I know
I
it sounds
can't
so
believe
retarded.
that of all the things to your mind to go to, especially knowing who you are, I can't believe that's where your mind
Well,
went
like
to because what that means is you said, oh great, we're going to eat some more clock right now. That's the assumption that the defense is going to stop them and get the
It's
ball
like
back.
well, dude, by the end of the fourth quarter, I think we all were like in awe of Russell Wilson. We were also going like Deshaun Watson is like superhuman. I mean, like so is Russell Wilson, but in different ways. Like you're a rookie in your first season, your first half of your first season, you go into clink like it's nothing, and you're playing pitch and catch with the receivers like you're playing against a high school team, man. I mean, he threw some picks, he made some mistakes, but it was kind of what we talked a little bit about last week in the podcast. He doesn't know enough to be afraid.
He doesn't know enough to be afraid, but what I would say is he got to play with two exceptionally good wide receivers because they weren't passing to the running back, they weren't relying on their running game as evidence is how the Seattle got the ball back. It was pretty much Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins all day, and they bailed them out a couple of times, and they highlighted that during
Yeah,
the
I mean,
game.
they the strength of our team. I mean, like they're throwing against, Richard Sherman, two Pro Bowl safeties, Hall of Fame safeties. We like to say Hall of Fame cornerback. There's two receivers getting open all day long. One of them's covered by the cornerback that's our Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's crazy
They
because
did it all day, man.
the Texans purposely played a game where they're saying like we're only going to have three people deep. We're only going to run three routes, and we're going to have six people blocking. We're going to stop Seattle from getting that rush, and Seattle still put up 5 sacks. And if not for Watson's athletic ability, it probably wouldn't have been a lot more. And that's the thing that why this game was so unique. And I definitely didn't have your optimism, Ross. And
Really?
I'm probably like you, Zeb, where like I feel like I need to watch the game a few more times to really get a feel for it. But in that final 5 minutes of the game, when the Seahawks are driving down, I was fully confident they were going to score. But then they threw that interception. That was just credit the DB. It's the one time those Houston DBs looked like they knew what they were doing because Russ was just having a field day with them. Credit the offensive line for giving him just enough time. I mean, I can't imagine how many times he got hit in that game, but he sat back, let the ball fly. But in that moment, when they intercept the ball, I really didn't think that the defense had another stop in them.
I never.
Discredit to the coach, the Texans coach, for running it 3 times on that third and fourth play, and like saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna take the ball out of the best player on our team, and we're just gonna try and run it, even though we haven't been that great.
Hey man, they took a page out of Green Bay's book. Like prematurely decide you've got the game won, right? And the NFC Championship game, like that guy, there's like 5 minutes left of the game, and they tell the guy with the interception, just go down.
Yeah,
Dude, 5 minutes left in the game. What are you doing? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just thought, like, I was really nervous. Like, we were going to score, and then they were going to score, and we weren't going to have any time left. I'm like, okay, with that much time, they score, and then we'll score again, and we win. Okay, cool. That's all right.
Well, what's amazing is like, so they got the ball back. They got the ball back under with like a minute 46 left, and they scored in 3 plays. And again, Seahawks, for whatever reason, when they decide that they want to score against you, you have no chance because those were 3 amazing throws. Jermaine Ifedi is a accidental hero by having a false start and running 10 more seconds off the clock. And then not only did it run 10 seconds off the clock, they're running the clock once the ball's placed. And that was like another 5 seconds they lost before they could actually line up, set, and spike the ball. It's funny if you go to other websites like Field Goals, they do enemy reactions and they get the chat history of like a thread, and all of these guys say after Jermaine Ifedi gets the false start and it's the 10-second runoff, Then the Seahawks score on 2 plays later. There's like, oh, I really wish they didn't have that 10-second runoff rule, because that would have been 30 seconds to get a field goal as opposed to 20 something.
Right. Well, it was hilarious because it was kind of. I mean, it was reminiscent of earlier in the game where normally when the quarterback gets hit and loses the ball, you want it to be an an incomplete pass, and if it's a rule of fumble, you challenge, and hopefully it comes back as incomplete. But this game was exactly the opposite. It was an incomplete pass, and like Russell Wilson's out lobbying Pete Carroll to challenge. He's like, "No, I fumbled it. I totally fumbled it."
Yeah.
When's the last time you like see somebody like trying to convince them like, "No, I fumbled it." Oh, okay.
That's such a weird rule, because that rule happened last year against the Jets and ended up making that game like a one-score game because of it. So,
yeah. It also shows you never to give up on a play. Luke Wilson, like, just in case, makes a clear recovery without fumbling it, because then it'd be in a fumble.
Yeah.
Keep playing through the whistles and past the whistle for a few seconds. Out there, boys and girls. All the little leaguers out there listening to our podcast, you should be going to bed, but stay up 45 more minutes.
All right, well, let's get into the show, and we're going to talk a little bit more about all these things, but we'll just start off with topic number 1, because we're going to talk about a lot of other things as well. But uniquely, topic number 1 is about NFL trades. With the flurry of mid-season trades, has the NFL made trading a new facet to the game? And I say this because this year there have been 93 trades so far. So this includes the, in training camp through the trade deadline. Last year together, there were 53 trades all season long. So we're seeing almost twice as many trades. There's usually more trading in fantasy football, but Zeb, we'll talk about the new acquisition that the Seahawks gained, but what did you see with all these trades, with all these players getting moved before the deadline?
Well, it was definitely exciting. I don't remember a trade deadline being this exciting in the past. Just
never before.
Yeah, move after move. It was really fun to watch. I'm a big fan of the move we made, although obviously if we could have dumped Lane in the process, it would have been better. But we get Dwayne Brown for a couple of draft picks, and I think that should help to solidify the O-line a little bit. So the question is basically, is the NFL changed now? Is there going to be more trades going forward? I don't know. Remains to be seen. I have to believe there's some kind of correlation between the level of parity that we have right now and the trades, maybe, because there's so many teams still here almost at the midway point trying to really find their identities. So I was surprised at some of the moves. I didn't expect to see Jay Ajayi go like that.
Yeah, what about that? Because there are a couple of teams that are in playoff contention that have a chance to win, and they're trading people away for picks.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It reminds me of a trade I was offered today in the fantasy league from buddy Ross here, who offered me up some tempting draft picks for next season. But I feel like next season, fine, sure, but I want to win still this season. So I don't not that it's going to happen. I'm not going to win that many games still, I'm sure, but I'm going to try my hardest. So
I was just saying be a quitter, man. I was just saying like invest in the future.
And I get it. I do. And maybe if I've never been in a league that does a keeper league like that where
it's only the second year it's only the second year I've seen like drops available for trade. I'm just like I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that I'm ready to take that plunge yet.
Yeah. Ross, what about you? I'm pretty excited by it. It's the first year that the NFL sort of felt almost like the baseball trade deadline, and I think there's I'm going to point to two causes. One is the Moneyball effect, and I think a lot of people misunderstand the Moneyball effect. They think it's purely about like advanced analytics, and that's part of Moneyball, but that's not the main thing. The main thing about Moneyball is making everything economics, and people started to like assign like neutral values and kind of objective values to positions and things like that, and finding that there's more than one way to win, there's more than one way to construct your roster, there's more than one way
way to do things, and starting to see players more as commodities. You're trying to buy wins. You're not trying to buy players. The other thing I think is if you look at the trades, if you take out Belichick, I think you'll notice that all of the trades are by the younger GMs. It used to be GMs that were kind of people who had spent 30 years on the road being a scout and then finally got moved to the head office and then spent another 10 or 15 years moving up inside the front office and were finally like a GM, and they knew a lot of the mystical knowledge about players. And now it's the younger guys. It's the John Schneiders and so on and so forth of the league.
John Lynch, a first-time GM in general, in any level.
Yeah. TV announcer. I mocked the choice, but he's not. I mean, they haven't won a game yet, so you can't. But he doesn't seem as inept as what was the Detroit commentator, Matt Millen.
Yes,
he doesn't seem like that yet, right? He seems like, we don't know how things are going to shake out, and you got to give him a couple seasons, and maybe he won't be a success. I don't think he will be, but he is part of the new generation. They're more willing to do new things and build a roster different ways and take new chances and things like that. Like the Giants. If you're the Giants, why are you not doing it? Like your season's lost. Why are you not moving it? Because it's not the Mara way, whatever. You're the old school football. We're stoic and whatever. Like, dude, trade Eli. Yeah. Trade Eli and get some picks for next year and like build. He's almost done anyway. Somebody will want him. The Cardinals are maybe technically in it. Maybe they'll trade for him because Eli's a bit kind of Carson Palmer-ish. They could go back to their old playbook, right? And do something, man. Like, but instead it's got to be Howie and it's got to be John Schneider and it's got to be all these new people. It's got to be even the Browns trying and failing to make a trade and then lying about it. No. Like, and I sort of feel like we got a little jobbed. I kind of feel like. I know that the GM of the Texans is good friends with John Schneider, so maybe it wasn't that, but I kind of feel like he kind of took advantage, and I think from the beginning they decided like they wanted more draft picks. Like once we had Dwayne Brown, we couldn't like go, oh well, Lane fails his physical, so we're just going to call the whole deal off. It was a little late for that. Well, so I feel like they kind of jobbed us. They wanted a third round pick to begin with.
I think it's really interesting because. And definitely to the point, Houston was put in a very, very interesting position, I think, by Dwayne Brown and by their owner. So for those of you that have not been paying attention to it all, last Thursday after our podcast, the NFL had an owners meeting, and in the owners meeting, Bob McNair, the owner of the Houston Texans, specifically said, you don't let the inmates run the prison. The more traditional euphemism is you don't let the inmates run the asylum. In this current climate, with what the president said against the NFL and with what players such as Michael Bennett are protesting, what Kaepernick protested against all of last year, it's probably the worst timing that you could use that saying. Regardless of what you meant behind it, the saying just doesn't mix. Dwayne Brown was a vocal person, and he was actually the only person that protested last year. I forget what capacity in which he actually protested, but it was so bad that the Houston Texans kind of were in turmoil, and it's kind of to their credit that they played such an amazing game, but their star wide receiver left practice. He left practice because of their coach, and all of these events, I think, led to what we're seeing, where the Texans chose, they're like, hey, we don't need this guy to win. We're going to trade him. We're going to try and get everything we can. The same thing happened in other cities. Carolina trades Kelvin Benjamin because they're saying, like, he's slow, he's a great target, but he's not going to help Cam develop because Cam's getting hit too much behind a crappy offensive line. We need to trade him away. Miami and Adam Gase apparently don't like their running back, Jay Ajayi, and they said, you know what? Get this guy out of here. He's not going to help us. We don't want him on our team, and they're going to trade him away. Those are two teams that are not completely out of it. Carolina's 5-3. They're still very much in control of their playoff contention, but they chose that they want to make a trade. Seahawks are going to benefit from that. I believe the Seahawks are going to win this deal hands down. I believe the NFL has started to make that change. Ross, I think you pointed to a really good point that it's the younger GMs that are making these moves. But I think these moves are something that we're going to see a lot more. Something that was really interesting on 710 ESPN, they mentioned that due to the fact that there is no like halfway cut in the preseason, it goes from 90 to 53. That's a huge reason for teams to want to trade, to try and acquire players and not try and risk losing them in the free agent market. I think it's a great thing. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see if this continues, but I hope that it does. And I think it's hugely benefited the Seahawks.
Now that there's more trading, I think also probably my guess is in the next 2 years, maybe 3 years, they're going to move the trade deadline back 2 weeks. Because right now, they're going to realize that the trades also bring more attention, and the NFL loves that, and it brings a certain amount of excitement, and people love that, and it's going to become a bigger part of the game. So I think the GMs that are this new wave of GMs are going to push for, the trading deadline to go back, so that it's more like in baseball. Like right now, like there's only 3 teams you'd say are completely out of things, right? So the rest of the teams they're not sure if they're buyers or they're sellers. They're a lot of them are like Zeb. They're like, I want to still be a buyer. I know that I should be a seller, but I still want to be a buyer.
Let's talk about that real quick. Zeb, do you buy that the Seahawks got the better in this deal with the Seahawks and the Texans? It's Dwayne Brown for a second, a third, and a 2019. It's a 2019 second, a third this year, and a fifth this year.
I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. Because obviously it really comes down to what happens with those picks and how successful Dwayne Brown is in our system, how much he can contribute. So yeah, if he plays 2-3 seasons or more at a high level, then I think we did exactly what we needed to do. If we get some bad luck and he gets injured, or it turns out kind of like a Hushmanzada or a Percy Harvin type situation where it just doesn't really work out in the long run, then again, I think we spent too much. So it's I'm gonna, at this point, I believe we did what we needed to do. I think we improved our team. So assuming everything works out, I do think we helped our team, and that makes us a winner in the trade.
Ross, what about you?
On the one hand, left tackles are sort of like franchise quarterbacks. Those are normally not for sale unless something weird has happened, right? Unless Peyton Manning has like Frankenstein fusion thing going on in his neck, he's never going to hit the free market. And left tackles don't. No, 3-time Pro Bowler. Last year was a Pro Bowl alternate. Those guys don't normally make it to the market. So we paid a lot, but you gotta pay a lot for that. And I don't mind the missed picks so much because 2019, that's a year and a half away. That's 2 drafts away now. We're probably going to move down with the first anyway, and we're going to pick those picks up anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. I almost worry more about, once, especially now the lanes come back. You had to ask Russell Wilson to redo his contract, and that he doesn't get any more money, but it goes into his bonus, right? And that gets divided by the length of his contract, which means essentially there's less cap room next year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after. So to get a player for this 1 year, we're basically saying, and we've done this twice now, right? Because we did the same thing with Doug Baldwin so we could sign Sheldon Richardson. So we've lost a lot of cap space the next 2 years to sign these guys. That's somebody means probably we're not re-signing somebody. So it's not just that we get this guy and we lose those draft picks. We're probably not going to get to sign somebody we might have wanted to keep. So I'm going to be interested in who we can't keep next year, and that'll tell you the real problem or the real value or the real cost of this pick and this move. And then I'll just tell you whether I really agreed.
All right,
because I feel like we have a lot of people coming up who we probably want to keep, but we're not going to be able to keep them.
I look at it this way. We're a veteran team now. We're not young. We are going to start losing people. But this move is a win-now move, which I am in full buy mode of. And the reason for
what happens if we only get to the second round of the playoffs like last year and the year before? How we feel about it?
If we only get to the second round, that means that we probably wouldn't have made it out of the first round if we don't make this move.
I don't know. Maybe we made it last year. Are we that much we've got all these new guys who are doing pretty well and contributing.
I think our offensive line is considerably worse than last year
we
because
just scored 41 points against the Texans, man. The red hot.
we'll talk about that more. But I think that's more credit to Russell Wilson and the game plan that we have. I think our receivers are better and healthier. I think Paul Richardson is a huge improvement over Jermaine Kearse. Jimmy Graham, another year in our system, is that much better, and Russell Wilson is healthy. That's the difference. Russell Wilson with healthy makes up for a bad offensive line, but a healthy Russell Wilson and a clean pocket is deadly, and that's what this move is about. This move is about protecting Russell Wilson for this year, to maximize the team that they have this year, and to win this year. Yes, if they don't win, then you can always mark it off as a loss. It's always going to come out as a loss on your end if you don't win it all, based upon the moves to acquire Sheldon Richardson, to acquire Dwayne Brown. But this team is not getting younger. You know?
Yes, we are.
We're not getting younger on the defense.
What do you mean we're not getting younger? Who are our best wide receivers this year?
Doug Baldwin and Paul Richardson. And Paul Richardson is in the last year in his contract.
Right, and we have Lockett. And then Darbo's making...
You can't talk about Darbo when he has less than 10 catches on the year.
Yeah, I can. I just did.
Well, no, you're going to lose every argument saying that he's a top young wide receiver.
Who was our best lineman in this game? Wasn't that our rookie out there? Yeah.
No, our best lineman was Justin Britt.
This last game, no, he wasn't. Did you watch the game? He was so clearly not 100%. Maybe overall he is, but I'm just saying. And again, how old is Justin Britt? We're not an old team. We have a certain number of players. I understand why you're saying we're a veteran team, but I think you're underestimating this past draft. I think you're underestimating the fact that the goal is to be a long-term Patriots type thing. We're generational good. I don't want to get that mentality. We're gonna close because we're getting too old. I don't want to start thinking like that. Start making decisions.
But I don't think we've made the sacrifices in the draft for this year. I don't think we've cost ourselves.
I don't know. You're saying two things at the same time.
I'm saying that this move is to win now. I'm saying this move is to win now, and I buy that they made the best move.
And I don't want to just win now. I want to win forever. That's the name of the book.
I understand that. But the thing is, in place, Dwayne Brown is signed for 2 more years. You've got him for all of this year and all of next year.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing, man.
But that's winning past this year.
All I'm saying is we're not necessarily getting old. So we got to take care of everything, and you got to keep that money.
I don't know how you can argue against the fact that we aren't getting old.
Really? Because, for example, at cornerback, I think we're younger this year.
Richard Sherman's not getting younger.
He's one of them, though, right?
Yeah, but Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill. Those are all guys that are getting older. They're not old. Yes, I'm saying they're getting older. They're not old. They're just getting older.
Yes, I understand. I understand the process of aging. I'm going through it. We all are. Life is a one-way street. I get it. What I'm saying is that we're not necessarily getting older. When you say the team is getting older, you look at the average, and I think we're in a really good position to kind of get younger, actually. Our running back next year is almost certainly going to be a second-year player, Chris Carson. Our fullback is a second-year player this year. Our quarterback, that's kind of exempt from the thing. Half of our line next year, hopefully, is going to be second-year players, right? I think we're actually we've got a youth movement going. After a couple of bad drafts, we've had a good one, and I think we're in a position to build on it again. And I think we're going to get younger. We're going to regenerate ourselves. So I'm not too worried about oh my God, all our guys are getting older, because there's going to be a next. I hate to say it, but there's going to be another Richard Sherman along.
All right,
that already may be there.
Let's push this into topic 2 then, because topic 2 is about the offense scores 41 points.
Yay!
Is the LOB past its prime? Ross, let's start out with you.
Yeah. I get to go first. Yay. No, they're not past their prime, but they've matured. Cam Chancellor is no longer the guy who had to prove himself, and he, I can't remember the last time I got really excited over him just blowing up somebody in the old days. That doesn't happen as much. But I don't think they're past the prime at all. Richard Sherman didn't have a great game, but it was a really challenging type of situation, like you said, with Watson and what he can do. He's very Russell Wilson-esque in his escapability and extending plays, and our game plan wasn't in place to have him cover a guy for 7 seconds or 5 seconds. That's hard to do in the NFL, right? Then Earl Thomas. I mean, like Earl Thomas is better this year than he was last year or the year before. I think. I mean, not today with his hamstring, but I mean, like this season, I think he looks better than ever. And
that pick six was huge. Like that was a 70-yard pick six,
and that was classic. Like that was classic LB. Right? Like, you burned him on a play, but there's no way he's not getting revenge. There's no way. And they did the next drive.
They didn't throw across the middle ever again after that. Yeah. After that play.
Well, it's again like we keep going back to like Deshaun Watson, like going into the game, like he's a young cocky kid, and he should be because he's got all the talent in the world, and he has, all through high school and college, nobody's like taught him those lessons. So he probably learned at least one lesson on that day. Like when you are playing the LOB, you got to respect the middle. So like I don't think I think they've matured, right? There's not like Richard Sherman doesn't talk like he used to do, but a lot of the team has matured. Like Doug Baldwin from ADB, Angry Doug Baldwin, like BDB, like Buddhist Doug Baldwin to me. So I mean, like they've matured, and that's okay. And in some ways, it's going to be not as fun to watch because Cam Chancellor's not going to go out of his way to just completely kill somebody because he's not going to preserve his body a little bit too. Like, and there's going to be more economy of movement. Like I'm old. I'm almost 46 now. It happens, but I think I think there's no arguing that they're just as good. Again, this past game, there's games like it was a hard game, but I think overall, like the LOB's in their prime still, and they got a youth infusion on the other side.
I think Ross is pretty much right on there. Of all the guys in the Legion of Boom, Cam may be the guy. But I think Sherman and Earl are clearly still at the top of their game. Earl in particular, like Ross said, this may be the best he's looked in a couple of seasons. So I don't expect a lot more games like this last one this season where the other team is just puts up numbers on us. Like I think it's kind of an outlier, however you say that word. I don't expect to see that happen much. It's just your one or two games this season are going to be like it's just as good as this defense is and how dominant they typically are. These games happen, but they're few and far between.
There's not a lot of Watsons paired with a Hopkins paired with a Fuller out there.
Yeah,
right.
They're all legit.
Exactly. So I think the LOB is still good. For probably at least a couple more seasons to come, maybe longer. Who knows? I still enjoy watching them play, and I still think that they're the best in the business.
I think if the Seahawks played any other team that tried to do what the Texans did, which is double moves behind the line, triple play action, lots of movement behind the line with max protect and only putting 2 and 3 guys out on a route, they would have been eaten up. But due to that game plan, the physicality of Watson, his ability to extend plays, it was like playing Russell Wilson. That's probably what everyone in Seattle who's a Seahawks fan says. That's probably what they were thinking the whole game. Like, oh, this is what it's like to play Russell Wilson because, goddamn, that's annoying. Because that one touchdown.
He does a 360.
Quentin Jefferson should have knocked him. He could have wrapped him up better, but Watson just spins out.
9 out of 10 quarterbacks are already down. Maybe twice.
And what's funny is Bobby is basically in prime position to take that pick, but he's probably thinking, okay, well, he's got it. I'm just gonna stay flat because there's no way he can throw that ball now. I need to make sure that he doesn't run.
Did you listen to the sound effects they had? They had like the mics on the Texans bench. And Watson comes over after that touchdown, and Tom Savage, who started as their starting quarterback, he walks over to Watson and is like, dude, like, I have no idea how you made the play. He's like, there's no way I can even lie to myself. There's no way I would ever made that play. That's a start. Like I was the starting quarterback, and he's like in awe. Right?
Yeah, but let's be real. Tom Savage is a nobody. But
yeah, no, he's not a nobody. He's in the NFL, dude.
But here's
like Tim Rattay.
Yeah. Here's the interesting thing that I want to talk about, though, with the fact that the offense scored so many and people want to disparage against the defense and the LOB, and I'm definitely with you guys. I don't think they're past their prime. If you look at the rushing defense, they've climbed back into the top 10. They're stopping teams. They're making them go one-dimensional. We just happen to face a very unique situation. Credit to the Texans for, getting those deep balls, but those were all crazy crossing routes. They were all off play action. That was just huge protections. And at the end of it, yes, Seattle gave up a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns, but they also intercepted the ball 3 times because of those risks, and they also got 5 sacks out of it. Any other team they play, that team is going to get shut down, and they're not going to do half of the things that they want to do. But
three picks and 5 sacks, like for the Seahawks, that's a win every time.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Russell Wilson said in the press conference, someone asked him along the lines, I forget the exact wording, but did you bail the team out? Were you expecting to put them on your shoulder? Russell Wilson, classic Russell, just says, it's a team game, we're in it to win it. All the normal platitudes that he provides. They asked Richard Sherman the exact same question, and Richard Sherman says, Russell Wilson bailed us out. Flat out, he admits that Wilson helped them to win that game. And early in the year, he says that we know that's our responsibility. We know it's our job because all the money is on us. We're gonna be the ones to help the team win, and that wasn't this case this game.
Well, I think that's an important point, and I think that's going to really help the team chemistry moving forward. It's like, even though Richard Sherman says all the right things and everybody said the right things, occasionally there must have been a slight bit of resentment by the defense. And if not, at least like there's some of that sentiment like you just expressed. There's some of that, you know what, all the money's been us. We're the ones who has to really carry the team, and whatever the offense can do, that's great. That's a bonus. It's up to us on defense. So you have this one game where the defense not necessarily got let down, but they kind of got beat up a bit. I mean, they had their good plays, but like we said, Texans are legit. Their offense went off, and it was up to the offense, and not even just the offense in general. It was Russell Wilson. Let's just say that Russell Wilson kept us in the game, won us the game. He had 101% of all odds we. So, I think that's important that the defense is going to remember that most games, it's on them. But if they don't, if they have an off game, or if the other team just outplays them somehow, if it's that kind of day, the offense is prepared and can do the job.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take this to topic number 3 here. So we're going to talk about it. So, apologies to Ross. He suggested a slight variation on the question and the topic, so he has free form. But the way I wrote it, I apologize, is who has the best NFL celebration? So Zeb, what player do you like watching when they score?
In the league, I don't know. I don't pay that much to the celebrations. I like seeing them, but I don't really keep track of who's doing what. And especially this season, it's just been kind of a free-for-all with doing the group celebrations and stuff. On the Seahawks in particular, I think Luke Wilson has my favorite celebration.
His is consistent for sure.
Yeah, and it's just awesome. It reminds me of a little bit of Sean Dawkins, if you're familiar, back in
Sean Dawkins
98 or 99. He just had a good, simple celebration that just showed his dominance over you, and I think that's a good one.
What was Sean Dawkins?
He would get down on his knees and just put his arms out like he was giving glory to God, but it was just like overdone and phenomenal.
Did he inspire Tim Tebow?
No, I don't know. I don't think he was actually giving glory to God. I think he was giving glory upon himself.
No,
it just looked tight though.
Tebow.
But I think that I don't really know what's all going on here with Techno Thursdays or whatever this new thing is, but
that was the weirdest thing ever.
I have to say that Russell Wilson prancing with an invisible flute is by far my favorite current celebration.
Ross, what about you? So we're gonna tweak it for Ross. Ross, what was your original question that you wanted to ask?
My original question was I want us to talk about, because it's the Homer corner is design your own touchdown celebration. Tell us what Seahawks players you're going to recruit for it. I don't have an answer though.
You don't have
because I saw how it was written. I was like, I tried to prepare for the question as written, but I don't have. Oh my God, can I be Debbie Downer for a second? I don't have a real answer, and that's why we sort of rewrote it. I don't have an answer because I'm not a celebration guy. I'm a Steve Largent, toss the ball to the referee guy. I'm a Eric Dickerson, like act like you've been there before, man. Like
What a
that
downer.
said, I am a downer, dude. I was just like seriously, like act like you've been there, man. Like, dude. But that said, if I can find a way to do it, because I'm not very computer savvy, like Russell Wilson playing an invisible flute and acting like an elf, that will be my screensaver.
Prancing.
On every electrical thing I own, that will be my like. Oh my God, that's like, what is that? So I didn't know what it was.
It's just prancing in a flute.
Well, I had to go and like investigate the backstory, and I'd never heard of Techno Thursday. I'd never heard like of Luke Wilson, and
That's why you got to get on Twitter, Ross.
I tweet every time I try to call the birds, man.
There you go. Best NFL celebration has to be T.O. The Sharpie is one of the best TD celebrations.
Oh, we're talking all time. Okay.
I'm expanding the broad, and I'll dial it back.
He's altering the deal.
Pray I don't alter it any further.
Pray he doesn't.
My favorite consistent celebration has to be Jamal Anderson's Dirty Bird. No, wasn't a huge Falcons fan, but love that touchdown celebration, and you could actually get that in NFL 2K, which was kudos to 2K for making that. But who has the best? If I were going to recruit someone to help me celebrate from a Seahawks perspective, I'd get Sean Alexander, because half of the time they were super cheesy, but he scored so many times, he always had to do something new. There was like Rock the Baby, there was the golf tee, there was the celebrity photo shoot, there's all these different things that he would try to do after he scored. And at one point it was like, I'm just out of ideas, giving it to the lineman, let you spike the ball. But that was Ross's original question, so I'm going to throw my shout out to Sean Alexander.
I think I might do Trey Madden, because like he used to be the ball carrier and he used to score in high school and college, and now like to make an NFL team he's had to switch to fullback, and so he's probably got all this pent up like frustration.
Yeah, but you know
every
what?
Every single time he sees somebody score,
there's always that lackluster move where they like, this is what I'm gonna do when I'm gonna score, but then they like freeze, they get like stage fright. They're like, what was I gonna do again?
Possible. That is a danger, but still, I'm gonna go with like the idea that every time he sees everybody else score, and that used to be like his job, and everything been on, like like he's just thinking, I know what I do, I know what I would do, I know what I would do, and I'm gonna go and go with Trey, because
and you never get a chance because you're not gonna get the touchdown
because you're a fullback on the Seattle Seahawks, which means you play like 10 downs.
Hey man, he had that 60. He had the longest play from scrimmage.
He was running in slow motion. I was like, no wonder they moved you.
Dude, it reminded me of John L. Williams. Just they don't have that breakaway speed, but man, did he try? He tried.
Apparently, the play kind of assumes he was going to make. The play kind of assumes he'd make it to the end zone. If they actually call it and it works, no defender's supposed to be anywhere near him, so they assume you're going to score a touchdown. But he's like, I run out of. No kidding, dude.
Yeah.
He ran fast for about 10 yards and ran medium for like 4. And they sort of crawled on the ground for 6 more, and then.
Well, to be fair, I don't think there's a fullback in the league that could outrun those cornerbacks out there like that.
Oh no, obviously not. But I was like, dude, is he carrying invisible? How is he moving?
He's got
shades of Zach Miller.
Yeah, he's got weights in his cleats, just to help him get some push.
Is the middle of the field made of quicksand?
He's like, this is unfamiliar. My legs don't know what they're doing.
I've never run more than 15 yards on a play.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a good play.
It was a good play.
All right, I hope they pull it again, like late season.
All right, let's move on to topic number 4. So topic number 4 is about the other Washington team comes to Seattle, but this is a trap game, and a trap game traditionally it's kind of the definition that you overlook a team that you should probably beat, but they kind of catch you off foot and they just kind of get you reeling from the beginning. So Ross, what do you think about this team? And we're going to just refer to them as the Washington team.
Yeah, we are. Um, I don't. Again, I'm gonna be Debbie Downer and real. I don't believe in trap games. I think sometimes as fans we call it a trap game because the team we thought was going to easily win loses, and we're like, oh, they weren't mentally prepared. It's like no, like it's the old cliche, man. The other team also gets paid. They're all really, really good professionals. It's just you've got a percentage bet on every single one of them, but sometimes the game plan gets put together wrong, or something. Somebody comes out flat, or a couple of mistakes here and there. I don't believe in trap games, and I think the Holmgren era Seahawks were sort of vulnerable to that type of letdown every once in a while. Maybe it was a project of a type of offense. It was they didn't like it, but they were a finesse offense, and they were timing offense. And if the timing is off for a game, you're screwed. Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, I think, are not immune because they often come out flat for half a game, but the inspiration, the motivation, and the game plans that come, I don't really think they're really quote unquote trap games. So I'm not really worried about that. I am worried the fact that I do think the Washington team has quite a few talented people. I think they've got some good coaching going on for the first time in a while. Their owner sucks. They've got a lot of injuries, so I think they're kind of hurting, and they're missing probably their best weapon, Jordan Reed, who's one of the premier tight ends. But
hey, they got to rely on Vernon Davis. Cam Chancellor has a chance to steal someone's soul again.
Yeah, well, everybody keeps talking like Vernon. He's probably the best backup tight end in the game, and he probably is. But like he's sort of like old school Kaepernick. Like when he comes to Seattle, he's not any good. Kaepernick, we in Seattle think he sucks because every time we watched him, he did suck. But when you look at his games, his stats career wise, when he's not playing Seattle, he was really really good.
Oh, Packer fans must think he's the best quarterback in the world.
Right, exactly. Like exactly the opposite impression. Like they probably have like nightmares about him. Like I used to have nightmares about like Ricky Prohl and some other like unknown Rams receiver because they beat us with them a couple.
Oh, Ricky Prohl.
Even famous right now. But I had like nightmares about that. The guy's like they're average. I was terrified of him. I would always give him Madden on my team because I didn't want to have to play against him, even though he's just a dude. But like Vernon Davis coming into like Central, he's like, oh, like he's probably gonna like have like fevers and things like that before the game and like do warm ups because he's like Cam Chancellor is gonna come out of the field and oh my god, Vernon Davis is probably just gonna like, I forgot I have something to do. I gotta babysit my sister's kids and leave. So they're gonna be short a tight end or two, but other than that, I think the Washington team's got some players. I don't think they're that much of a pushover. The record's 3-4, which it's early season. We'll see.
Yeah, a lot of divisional games. Zeb, what about you? What's your take on this upcoming game? Do you believe in the trap game?
No, I definitely don't see it as a trap game. I think.
Do you believe in the concept of a trap game?
Yeah, absolutely.
You believe in injury prone as well, don't you?
No, not really. Not necessarily. I think trap games happen, but I think this particular Seahawks team knows at this point that they're going to have to play their hearts out to win these games. That's just the way it's been.
Oh, sorry. Can I interrupt? There's one more thing I want to point out. I read this today. I was going to talk about this, and I completely bailed on it because we talked about this last year. It used to be the opposite. Remember how, like, last year, how if you played the Seahawks, the next week you always lost?
Yes.
So far, that's true of every Texans opponent as well. Every team the Texans played, they lost the next game.
Even the first game of the year?
Yes.
When Tom Savage played and started for them?
Well, Tom Savage started. He didn't finish.
Well, Deshaun Watson finished, but yeah.
You're mean. You are mean to Savage. The guy's last name was Savage.
Well, he should be a better quarterback.
Really good
strong name.
Tom Savage.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
be a better quarterback.
Every single opponent of theirs lost the next game. So there's a bit of a curse or effect or hangover there.
But that's true for Seattle and for Houston, then, you're saying.
Is that true for Seattle this year? I know it was true last year.
It is true because the Giants had a bye week, so they won't be able to show. The Rams... Actually, no, I don't believe the Rams lost.
The Rams did not lose the next week. So
yeah,
it's only true for the Texans.
Interesting. All right.
Interesting.
Carry on, Zeb.
Que interesante.
I think this Washington team is actually a pretty good team. But I think that they're not built to outlast a team like the Seahawks, especially not in Seattle. I've watched them play a couple of times this year, and their defense is super hard hitting, and they're aggressive, and that concerns me a little bit. But their offense doesn't scare me. I think Kirk Cousins has developed pretty well. I think he's probably a top 10 quarterback in this league.
Do you remember everybody laughed when he was taken in the draft?
I did not see that. No.
Because that was the draft they took RG3, right? And then they took Kirk Cousins in the third or fourth, and
yeah.
You just took RG3. What are you doing? Like, oh.
Hey, you need
it's as if they knew.
Right? Yeah, right. I expected a good defensive struggle this week.
That'd be interesting.
I don't see us putting up 40 points again. It's possible, but I don't see it. But I think that our defense matches up really well against their offense. They don't have necessarily receivers of the caliber of the Texans, so I don't see our guys getting burnt deep a lot. And I think Vernon Davis has actually played really well this season in the times that I've seen him play. But again, he's kind of Cam's bitch, so I don't see that really being an issue. I do think that the Seahawks probably win a relatively close defensive type game.
I think we'll get into the predictions about what's going to happen, but I'm not worried about this Washington team. I'm looking at who they've played. They've played Philadelphia, Rams, Oakland, Kansas City, San Francisco, Philadelphia again, and Dallas.
They've played a lot of good teams, dude.
They've played
outside of Frisco.
4.
That's a pretty rough
start. So the only teams that they've beat that have a winning record is the Rams. Every other team they've played, they've lost to that has a winning record. Oakland doesn't have a winning record.
They lost one game. I mean, the Eagles are super legit.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same point, how good do you think Dallas is, and how good do you think Kansas City is?
I think they're both pretty good.
You lost to Tennessee, so
yeah, that's our worst loss for sure out of the 2 losses that we've had. But at the same time, these are every game at even Kansas City. It's a 2-score game. It's a 13-point loss, a 9-point loss, a 10-point loss, a 14-point loss. That's that's a minimum of 2-score games that they're losing to. Whereas it's a 7-point game against the Rams that they win, a 17-point win over Oakland that didn't have Derek Carr, and then it's a 2-point win over San Francisco.
2 points, wow.
26-24.
You're making them sound even worse, man. I like it.
And I agree with you. Yes, this is a real NFL team. They will actually play in the NFL long after this game ends. They will still have the NFL shield on their helmets. They're not going to be contracted in anytime soon. But I don't feel that the Seahawks should have to worry about this game based upon the illogical effect of A is better than B is better than C, so A and B is better than C, so A must be better than C. Using that illogical logic, there's no reason to make me think that Seattle should have a tough time in this game. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but just me as a fan, I think this should be a really good game. It's kind of, for me, I kind of look at it as a get right game after how they played against the Houstons. And that game, I was much more surprised by with what happened, and I think that the Seahawks will try and change that and correct that for this game this Sunday.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is this game?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I put this game at
difficulty rating
6.
6. Okay. What before the game last week? What did you difficulty rating?
If for the Houston game?
Yeah, before the game, what did you think?
The Houston game, I probably would have put it at 6 as well. I didn't think that Deshaun Watson would be as electric as he was.
Yeah, no, I was so surprised.
I mean, that second play of the game, he goes 53 yards in the air for a touchdown. Earl Thomas misjudges Will Fuller's speed, gets beat, takes one wrong step, and it's gone.
I don't think he misjudged the speed. I think he got caught looking in the background. I don't think you.
But that's
I didn't think.
But that's the thing. It was like 3 play action
down.
moves in the back.
Right.
Who's going to bite?
that a rookie would be that good at play action.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you saw that on the replay. You saw that on the replay. Like, those were 3 moves that he's going behind the line of scrimmage, handing the ball off to.
Well, it's funny because after that, I don't think I kind of got. It's sort of like the waste. Like, I think the Houston Texans wasted a lot of energy doing mass direction because after the first quarter, especially, like the defense, the Seahawks defense was no longer being fooled by that. They were beaten by some really good wide receivers and some running around. But like they weren't being fooled anymore by like the 3 running backs and the wide receivers in the background playing around. Like, dude, you guys are just wasting time. Just play the game.
Yeah, and they were gassed, and the time of possession was pretty even after that. That's part of the reason why Seattle scored so easily. Yeah. But back to the Washington team, I'm not as concerned. Maybe hindsight's going to be 2020, and then it'll be a really close game like the Houston game was. But nothing on paper gets me worried about this team. And this is the best analogy I've heard about Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is going to get a huge contract in the NFL. That's just what's going to happen because he is a starting quarterback in this league, regardless of what level you want to put him at, what tier you want to put him at. The best analogy that I've heard is Kirk Cousins is like the beer at the airport. If you want a beer, you're going to have to pay a high price for that beer, whether or not it's worth it, because that's just what you have to do. In the NFL, you have to pay a quarterback big money. You have no choice, regardless of how good they are. That's Kirk Cousins in a nutshell.
Did you watch the movie Moneyball?
Yes, and I've read the book.
Yeah, the book is much better and way more encompassing everything. But do you remember the scene where Brad Pitt's character, Billy Bean, takes Jonah Hill's character, stood out under the parking garage so they could talk freely?
Yeah.
And Jonah Hill gives them a lecture on like baseball thinking is medieval.
Yes.
I think you just sort of described that. I mean, like Matt Stafford and next Kirk Cousins are sort of the best example. Like, people pay these guys millions because they think they have to because they're a starting quarterback in the NFL and those are super, super rare. And so you have to pay them. It's just like they can hold your whole life hostage. And I think that's medieval. I think like quarterbacks after 6 or 7 years, they don't suddenly become, very rarely do they suddenly become like quarterbacks who can get to the Super Bowl. They might sort of be playoff caliber, but they're not really Super Bowl winners. Only a certain type of quarterback can get you the Super Bowl and win it these days, really. And so I think like that mentality is there, and I think that's sort of old school GMing and old school philosophy. And I think that tells you have to pay Matt Stafford, even though like Matt Stafford's going to go into his 8th or 9th year and has not won a playoff game, or maybe he's won one.
The Giants have the Lions have not won a playoff game in the Matt Stafford era
since 1962.
There you go, the Matt Stafford era. And and Kirk Cousins, is probably as good enough to get you to the playoffs, probably if you have the right tools around him. And I agree, like he is a starting caliber, but he's like we said this somewhere else earlier. Like he's sort of minimum, like he's like the minimum standard. He's not a Tom Savage type. He's the minimum to get you to the playoffs, probably if you have the right tools around him. But he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. So if your goal is to win the Super Bowl, then you pull the plug. You just you pull the plug and spend the money elsewhere. Get even a slightly lesser Brad Johnson type quarterback. Spend the money on other good positions that'll get you the other way to win the Super Bowl, which is like the Ravens did.
The 2000 Ravens.
Yeah, the 2000 Ravens, or that kind of situation. I mean, because again, it's a medieval thinking. Like, oh, you have to have one of these. No, you don't, because that guy's not that good, and he's not going to get you. If your goal is to win the Super Bowl, if you're trying to buy wins, then that money is better spent on getting 2 really, really good shutdown cornerbacks.
But bringing it back to quarterback play, Ross, one of the things you wrote on our forum at Hawkscast.com was, why is all the attention on Deshaun Watson when Russell Wilson played a much better game?
Yeah.
Russell Wilson did win Offensive Player of the Week, so shows you how much he was respected for that.
But that's not where the chatter was, though, was it? But I get, you made the point elsewhere, somewhere there and somewhere else, that part of it's maybe like, who did you do it against and what environment, and maybe that was sort of like that was his announcement that he really is truly legit. And so I guess I sort of understand that, but at the same time, I'm like, Russell Wilson just shot down all those theories that people are like, all of a sudden, this preseason, like, Russell Wilson's reputation was going up and up and up. He was super hurt last year, so all of a sudden his reputation took a hit, And before the season, all the polls like they did that top 100 NFL players, and he was like number 59 or something. And he was like all the experts put him back down as a tier 2 quarterback because all of his accomplishments don't matter. All of his accomplishments don't matter because he's had Marshawn Lynch in the number 1 defense. But he just exactly showed everybody when he doesn't have those, he still wins the game.
Yeah, and then they make comments like, Matt Ryan wasn't even in the top 100 last year. He's a top 10 all of a sudden. Matt Ryan's having a pretty shitty year this year, so sucks for you, Atlanta.
Matt Ryan's like Kirk Cousins plus.
All right. Well, we got some fantasy updates for you. So we have a special shout out to the 3-step drop. Gentlemen, we are kind of holding steady. I'm in 4th at 5-3. Ross is 5th at 4-4. Zeb 7th at 3-5.
Did I lose? Oh, I lost.
You did lose. Sorry to say. On the 3-step side, Leor beat Maddie, so he went to 7-1. He's first. Maddie falls to second. And then Coleman, he is at a very, very bad 10th place at 3-5. Our fantasy question for the week: do you veto opposing players as trades? So if other teams make a trade, do you automatically reach to figure out, can you veto that trade, or do you let it slide? Ross, I'm going to hit you up first because you love offering trades. So
That's funny. I didn't used to until last year. I think I've only ever vetoed one trade and it's something ridiculous. But normally, if it's even close, if it's like, because you don't know how people are valuing stuff, right? I normally let it go. But if it looks sort of like collusion-ish, and that's the thing. Like I've been in a couple of leagues where I joined in and everybody else actually knew each other in real life, but I didn't, and I was just invited in. And like one team starts to go pretty bad, and then starts offering Russell Wilson and Stephon Diggs and some amazing running back for
Truth be told, I invited Ross last year, so not this year, the previous year, into a keeper auction league, and we did trade Russell Wilson. He's on my team. So thank you, Ross.
Yeah,
not collusion.
It was not collusion. Last year I felt like an idiot in your league because you invited me in and I went
we did pretty terrible last year.
Yeah, I'm doing better this year, so these people don't think I'm just like going to go. Just make yourself feel yourself because you had a bad year last year too.
That's why I made all those trades.
Normally, I let trades go unless I can literally in all the years I've been playing fantasy football, I can only remember one trade. One trade I actually hit the veto button, and then 2 years ago or 3 years ago in the foosball league I'm in that you're in now, before you win it, I protested. I didn't hit the veto on the thing, but I knew the guy making the trade, and I protested it to him, and he didn't listen. And he went ahead with it, and that guy went from he was 1-5, and then he made this kind of blockbuster trade, and then finished the regular season 7-6, and got into the second round of the playoffs. And I was so pissed off. Anyway, well, because it was so first of all, there was no trade deadline, so he made this trade really, 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 really late in the season, and the guy he traded with is somebody I think it was his brother, somebody he went to high school with. And it was a completely uneven trade, and it was obvious because I predicted to him exactly what was going to happen. He wasn't going to lose another game because all of a sudden he got Gronkowski out of it, and Aaron Rodgers, some other great wide receiver, and he gave up a bunch of middling players for it. So one of those trades, in real life, kind of makes sense because you're getting a whole bunch of stuff back, but in fantasy football, it doesn't make sense because you're getting a whole bunch of players who are never going to start.
Right.
I was really mad about it, but anyway.
All right, Zeb. What about you? Do you pull the veto trigger?
I haven't this year, but I fucking will if I smell something fishy.
You just veto every trade offer I make you.
That's called declining.
I pretty much never veto a trade, and my philosophy is if you got two people that agree to it, even if someone's getting, rope-a-doped, I'm whatever. I have to believe that my team is better than that, and I don't need to make shenanigan style trades.
My team's not better than that. That's the problem.
I'm barely hanging on, and then that trading away, Hopkins to get Lockett. That's not right.
Yeah. What crazy enough, I actually got offered DeAndre Hopkins I believe I was going to be offered Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson, but the guy offered it to me when all of them were on a bye. So he offered it to me 2 weeks ago when they would not have played. They would have been on a bye. And I was like, I'd make this trade, but I can't because I don't have enough roster spots to fill that with other players. So I'm going to have to decline. But in hindsight, I wish I did take that trade because it would have been great for the rest of my year. But no. Yeah, I try not to veto trades if people accept it. All right, so let's get into some predictions here real quick. So, final score, Ross, we're going to hit you up first. Final score, Seattle versus Washington.
23-10. 23-17. 23-17 Seattle.
23-17, a one-score game. Zeb, what you feeling?
I think this Washington team is better than a lot of us are probably giving them credit for. And I see a defensive battle, something like 19-13, maybe something like that.
I think the offense and defense want to show that, one, on the offensive side, that they are going to be as good as they want them to be, and the defense wants to show that it's as good as people think they used to be. I'm going to say it's a 28-10 game. 28-10. All right.
28-10, you said?
28-10 Seahawks.
Okay, I like it.
All right. Which running back gets a bulk of carries? So, as Ross, we talked about this before we started. Eddie Lacy is going to get the start. Carroll has said that he hasn't given his running backs a chance to get some rhythm, and they want to run Lacy a lot. Who gets a bulk of the carries? Rawls, McKissick, Procise, or Lacy this game?
I believe Pete Carroll. I think Lacy's going to 18 to 22 carries for 19 to 26 yards.
All right. Zeb, what about you?
Well, I think it will be Lacy. I don't know by how much but I do buy into the idea that we need to kind of get a guy going. You
got to give Lacy one game like that, right? Because Lacy's not the guy. I mean, the whole idea breaking down the defense by the fourth quarter, which means you got to give him 4 quarters of work.
Yeah, and I think it would be the same thing with Rawls too. I feel like you got to kind of feed him, and he's going to eventually hit some.
Do you not get the idea that something's weird about Rawls?
No, I do, because there was one play in particular. If he goes up the middle, he's getting at least 5 to 7 yards. It was wide open. Instead, he just ran right into a guy being blocked when there was clearly a hole there. I don't know if it's just maybe he doesn't have the vision. Maybe
did Marshawn Lynch break him a little bit accidentally by him trying to be Lynch? Is he looking for contact, but he can't stay erect for as much of it?
I don't know. Maybe he just isn't that good at reading. And back in 2015, we got a fake out version.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination. We have a bad line, and he is not patient.
Well, the lack of patience was really on display earlier this season.
Yeah, it's obvious. Yeah.
You can't outrun your screen. All right, Thomas Rawls. I know you're jacked. I know you're excited. You caught a ball for the first time in forever, but you cannot outrun your screen.
Right.
Yeah. I just feel like partly Marshawn Lynch is a bit of a bad influence on him. And now I'm going to really mean, I get the feeling he's not that bright.
That's cold.
I know.
Well,
silence.
Racist, but
what? No, there's a lot of, I don't think.
I know.
I think the bulk of the carries do go to Lacy, but I see McKissick getting most of the snaps. Procise isn't going to be healthy.
Procise.
Yeah, Procise is.
We still have Procise?
Yeah,
Can we talk about Procise?
No, there's not enough time to yell about him and his inability to play.
I want to talk about Procise, man.
All right, we'll save it for next time. If he plays, we'll save it and we'll talk about it next week.
I want to talk about. Well, that means we're never going to talk about.
Let's talk about him if he does something at some point.
We're never going to talk.
We might as well talk about Tanner McAvoy then. There's no reason to talk about a guy that's not
53-yard reception and he had a really good game on special teams.
It took him till game 7.
He gets a 1-game repeat.
Shout out to Tanner for this weekend's game.
He made an impact in game 7. Sorry, you don't get airtime.
Would you ever name your kid Tanner?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I've said it out loud in front of somebody who apparently was naming Tanner and them being upset about it.
Shout out to Tanner out there.
That's
All right.
actually happened.
Prediction is who extends their TD streak? Jimmy Graham or Paul Richardson, Ross?
Both.
Ooh. Both claim. Graham is on a 4-game streak and Richardson's on a 3-game streak and a 2-game streak for Richardson.
I'll go Graham.
I think Paul Richardson's man's like turned the corner, man. I think he's gonna go.
I think Paul Richardson is definitely turning the corner, which makes me kind of sad because it's his last year in Seattle. But I think that he's going
Seattle because they're gonna make room by getting rid of.
I don't know who they're gonna get rid of, but I'm saying Richardson. It helped my fantasy team if either of them catch touchdowns, so I wasn't too disappointed when Paul Richardson's 3rd touchdown got called back, and then Jimmy Graham caught it anyway. So good time.
As long as it's throwing.
All right, so here's a unique one, and this plays into the score. So remember the scores that you guys had. Legion of Boom over under 2.5 passing touchdowns given up.
Under. For sure. One maybe.
Under. I gave them 10 points. They can't have more than one. So, all right. So here's the one that you guys. I think you guys will struggle with. Seahawks line of scrimmage penalties over under 5.5. So this includes offensive penalties and defensive penalties on our linemen. 5.5 over under.
Under.
Over.
I have to go over. We had like 4 on the offense, and I think we only had like 1 on the defense, but just can't trust these guys. I know they're amped. I know they're crazy.
Dwayne Brown is like going to be playing on. I mean, he just arrived today at noon.
Yeah, and he already got Jermaine Ifedi's jersey number.
Yeah, really? Ifedi's gonna play tackle wearing for 65. That's weird.
Did they swap?
Yeah.
Oh,
65 is a center number.
Ifedi, yeah, it's a guard. So yeah, but Ifedi apparently is like a big Dwayne Brown fan. Like he looked up to him when he was in college, and he.
Yeah, I mean, Ifedi played at A&M during the time that he was in Houston, so yeah, it's not a surprise.
So he said, "Take my number, take it."
Yeah, I did. And
respect, young man.
Seriously, he apparently trained with him like just a bit during the off season this year.
Here's a crazier fact: Cam Chancellor and Dwayne Brown actually played on Virginia Tech for 1 year.
Wow, really?
I mean, yeah.
Connections.
All right, gentlemen, that's our show. Shoutouts.
CJ
Proscice, I hope he strains his ego again this week.
That's not a shout out. That's like a voodoo.
Whatever, man.
Situation.
I'm exercising stuff. Shout out to Jesse who took us trick or treating on Salmon Beach. Shout out to the nice lady in the store today who gave me an extra caramel apple.
Wow.
And shout out to the guy in front of me at the McDonald's yesterday when I was getting food for people and
paid it forward.
Yeah, so there you go. Happy Halloween.
Nice. Go to triplebpodcast.com and click on all the things over there. And shout out to my brother Joe Guns. Got himself a deer over the weekend, so I'm going to be needing some jerky.
Congratulations, Joey. Shout out. Go to check us out on Facebook at Seahawks FanTable. Check us out on Twitter at Seahawks Podcast. Check out our website at hawkscast.com. Thank you, my friends at work, for checking out the podcast. Share it with your friends, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.